Welcome to the NFC Squad. Sit back, grab your favorite beverage, and join us as we get you ready for another wild weekend across the National Football Conference.
You are talking ball with the NFC Squad. From the Cowboys to the Packers, the Falcons to the 49ers, and everyone else around the NFC, it's the local experts of the Locked On Podcast Network bringing you scoops, breakdowns, and the most comprehensive preview of the upcoming weekend for hard-hitting NFC football with our harder-hitting takes. Buckle up, it's the NFC Squad, and we have a seat for you. No hurt feelings allowed. Squad up, you're part of the NFC Squad.
Welcome in, football fans from across the league, but specifically, this is your NFC Squad. First time we're doing this here on the Locked On NFL podcast. We appreciate you coming through and joining us. Of course, this is all part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We're representing your teams every single day, so sit back and enjoy. This is going to be a little bit of a different style of show if you haven't been through here before that you might be used to, so bear with us, but I promise you it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to be talking about everything going on in the NFC, and we're going to be doing that thanks to our friends over at Prize Picks. This episode brought to you by Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL. Use that code, all lowercase, Locked On NFL, all one word, and you're going to get $50 instantly when you play $5. I'm David Harrison. I'm your local host of the Locked On Commanders podcast, but of course, I am not doing this all by myself. We're going to go around the horn here. We got James Yarko, my frenemy. We used to host the Locked On Bucks podcast, but now he's kicked me off. He fired me and said, no, Locked On Bucks is all mine. So he's selfishly doing that, enjoying that solo split paycheck. Gino Camilleri of Locked On Eagles coming through here. Third place in the NFC. That's right, buddy.
Warranted.
And
Warranted.
Louis DiBiase, his partner in crime, down there with the Locked On Eagles. We call them the bad boys of the NFC Squad here. Landon McCool representing Locked On Cowboys. So the NFC East is rolling deep with Patricia Traina, Locked On Giants. Last place in the division, but maybe first place in our
rising.
Aaron,
rising, fingers crossed.
Rising, exactly. Aaron Freeman of Locked On Falcons coming through as well. We'll get to your big victory here in just a moment. And the great Peter Bukowski, the great late Peter Bukowski of Locked On Packers. Thanks for joining us.
I'm not dead yet. I'm not dead yet. Come on now. Come on now.
The night's
Thanks
early.
for joining us, everybody. We're going to talk about our biggest takeaways from the last week. We're going to go around the horn here, and let's start with the team that had to have had the biggest win in Week 5. Aaron Freeman, go ahead, man. Take yet another victory lap, that 36-30 victory over James Yarko's Buccaneers.
It's Kirktober, so it's a great month of the year.
My God,
this is when Kirk Cousins is playing his best football. 509 yards, set the franchise record. It's incredible. It's an incredible time to be alive for the Atlanta Falcons. Everybody's knocking the Falcons because they're celebrating wins like they won a Super Bowl. But if you've watched the Atlanta Falcons for the last 6 years, you would think that winning a couple of games is like winning the Super Bowl. So we don't have that privilege, because of a certain game that happened a couple of years ago. So we are going to take our time and celebrate.
Aaron, what happened a couple years ago? I missed it.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I can tell you guys, I talked to somebody who's related to that game that happened a little while ago. Still not over it. It still stings a little bit. Just like Buccaneers fans seeing Kirk Cousins like that moments in the past. Not the first time Kirk Cousins has done that. We're not going to talk to James Yarko yet. Instead, we're going to go to another winner, Patricia Traina, Locked On Giants, probably the second biggest win from this group this weekend. Give us your thoughts following that big win over the Seahawks.
Second biggest win. I think the biggest win. I mean, Daniel Jones goes in there, looks like a legitimate quarterback, and he does it without Malik Neighbors. He does it without Devin Singletary. The defense was just absolutely amazing. They shut down DK Metcalf and that trio of Seahawk receivers. I mean, my gosh, please play like that every week. I was so ecstatic when I did my show on Monday that I was like, my listeners were like, boy, we're so glad to see you smile because it's been so long. I thought I was going to forget how to talk about a winning team. And it came back to me, thank goodness. But what a win by the Giants. And now they get the Bengals at home who are struggling. They get them, though, on Thursday night. The Giants not really good on Thursday night, but hopefully they'll keep it rolling.
Yeah, the NFC West, no representatives out here, so nobody to talk about the Seahawks side of things. In fact, nobody here to talk about the Rams side of things. They probably knew they weren't going to have a lot of conversations in this beginning segment, so we'll kick it over to Peter Bukowski, Locked On Packers. Peter, 3-2 Green Bay Packers. Jordan Love's back on the field. How you feeling about things going on?
Well, it is kind of fitting that there are no Rams representations here, because there were no Rams representations at SoFi Stadium on Sunday. It was 80% Packer fans, guys.
It
was
true.
wild.
That place is a shame, man.
There was a touchdown. I was talking to a longtime LA reporter. I'm talking about a long time, like guy who's been there 40 years, dyed in the wool LA guy, and he was like, "I've never seen anything like this." Like the first touchdown that the Packers scored, the main concourse is shaking. Like this is NCAA 25. Like that's what was happening in LA. Like it was crazy to see. Was the game great? No. Am I like heartened by what I've seen through 5 weeks? Not when Jordan Love has been on the field. That's the weird thing. It's like I feel way better about the Malik Willis Green Bay Packers than the Jordan Love Green Bay Packers. Yeah. So that's what's weird about all of this. I still think that they probably should have beaten Gino and Louis' team in week 1, but they didn't. And so, that's what happened. That's how this works.
That's every game for the Eagles. Even when they win, it feels like they shouldn't have won that game, and it's stressful.
I mean, you could have not said that Saquon Barkley was just a fine running back. That has came to bite you in the rear end a couple times.
You could have said that.
Patricia Tran might have some thoughts on that as well.
By the way, Gino, Louis, I got to ask you, if you had put money down on this, and I know you didn't, are you surprised that Saquon Barkley hasn't gotten injured yet, and that the Giants have running back Devin Singletary has? I mean, I would have never have guessed that.
I mean, through 4 weeks, Gino, I would say I'm kind of surprised considering he's been putting the team on his back. I mean, that's like the only thing that's been going right, it feels like, at times so far this year. And
I think his back is the only injury he hasn't had yet so far.
It's funny, Howie Roseman for so long did not want to commit to running backs, and now like a running back is his MVP, and it's the one he finally invested in. So that's kind of funny. Yeah, Patricia, like they're really like winning football games because of their running back. So yeah.
Landon, if Saquon Barkley broke his leg, would he still be the best running back in Dallas?
Not anymore. Did you guys hear about Rico Dowdle?
He would still run faster than Dalvin. He'd still be moving faster than Zeke and Dalvin Cook. Let's be honest.
I swear, if I have another Cowboys beat writer in the question section with Mike McCarthy ask why Dalvin Cook hasn't been raised up to the main roster yet, I'm going to scream, because I guess nobody's watched Dalvin Cook the last 2 years.
It's like the tape doesn't tell the story. It's like if we were watching the same guy, I don't think he's going to operate back there.
It's fantasy football all over again. It exists even in the media.
Landon, let's stick with the Cowboys though, man. I mean, of course the Cowboys can't do anything without some drama, so we have to have the delay. I don't know why it's the Cowboys' fault, but I'm going to put it on the Cowboys anyway. But 20-17, they get that win over the Steelers, 3-2, firmly in second place behind MVP candidate Jaden Daniels of the Washington Commanders. How do you feel coming out of that Sunday or that Monday night game?
In there.
Sunday night game, sorry.
Yeah, definitely had to get that in there. Look, I feel good that the team was able to pull out a win like that, because that's exactly the kind of game that the Cowboys don't usually win. On the road, non-common opponent, national television, all the vibes were off for the Cowboys to win that game. And, despite Dak being it's the old Homer Simpson, right? To alcohol, the cause of its solution to all my problems. That was Dak Prescott on Sunday night, right? Like, turnovers in the red zone, inconsistencies with the offense. But when it came down to winning the ball game, I mean, that's kind of what he does. So, some good with the bad, but certainly the Cowboys are just surviving right now with all the injuries they've got.
Yeah, that is what he does in the regular season for sure. Yeah.
Now, look, let's all give James Yarko a round of applause here for being the only loser to come through for this first NFC squad, because that's rough. James Yarko, go ahead, buddy. What you got?
I mean, any of us on this show could have thrown for 350 and 4 against that Bucs defense Thursday night. So I'm glad Aaron.
Not Jalen Hurts. Not Jalen Hurts. You got that wrong, my friend.
I promise you, Jalen Hurts could have done it left-handed. I mean, shout out to Aaron. He's taking his victory lap. That's cool. It's nice when you get handed a victory twice, and you tried to hand it back once. But look, I mean, short week division matchup on the road. It is what it is. I'll just hammer the Bucs to win the division, because they're now, the odds have gone up. You're going to win money at the end of the season. Kirktober is not real. It's a mirage based off of a very, very bad Todd Bowles defense and a linebacker in KJ Britt that couldn't cover anything.
You going to say the Atlanta Falcons will come back down to earth against the Andy Dalton-led Carolina Panthers?
I mean, no, I won't go that far, but you got to play the Bucs again in a couple weeks.
That's true.
And they'll have Antoine Winfield Jr. And we all know how much Atlanta fans love Antoine Winfield Jr.
Yeah. Okay. Fair. That's a fair point. That's a fair point too. So.
That's why you got to celebrate while you can, Aaron.
Yeah. Yeah.
Look, the Buccaneers may have a couple more L's on their roster too. They got the Saints coming up, always a tough matchup. Backup quarterback, that can always be a problem for a Todd Bowles defense, especially if they come in a little bit less than motivated. And the Baltimore Ravens right after that. James Yarko has got quite these slates of games coming up to cover for.
I need it. I got under 7.5 on the Bucs, so I'm getting killed right now.
There you go. But which NFC teams need to be on upset alert in Week 6? Talk about the week that was. Let's talk about the week that's coming next on Locked On NFL's NFC Squad. And we're launching this first episode of NFC Squad. Thank you for joining us for that. Thanks to our friends over at Z-Biotics. Z-Biotics pre-alcohol probiotic drink is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that is to blame for your rough next day. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. Just remember to make Z-Biotics your first drink of the night. Drink responsibly, and you're going to feel your best tomorrow. So I first gave pre-alcohol a try when I was celebrating my in-laws' 50th wedding anniversary. Had to kick back a couple with the father-in-law. I drank my first prebiotic. And I tell you right now, I didn't feel like I was at the top of my game because I'm a little bit older, but I felt better than I've ever felt before after kicking back a few with my father-in-law. So if you know what I'm talking about, make sure you drink that pre-alcohol first, drink responsibly, enjoy the next day. Go to zbiotics.com/LockedOnNFL to learn more and get 15% off your first order when you use Locked On NFL at checkout. Z-Biotics is backed with 100% money back guaranteed. So if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they will refund your money. No questions asked. Remember to head to zbiotics.com/LockedOnNFL. Use that code LockedOnNFL at checkout for 15% off. This debut episode of NFC Squad is also brought to you by Game Time, and Game Time has an amazing feature called Game Time Picks, and it makes getting your tickets for your concerts, your games, any live event that you want to in your area even easier than it's ever been before. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste your time searching through thousands of ticket options. Curated deals make it easier to find the best price on the greatest seats. For example, my Game Time Picks right now in the DMV, the Washington, D.C. area, I can get tickets to see the Chicago Bears visit the Washington Commanders for $126, or I can see the New Jersey Devils visiting the Washington Capitals for $31. There's also a concert to a person that, quite frankly, I've never heard of before for a pretty reasonable price. So if I just want to get a night out, maybe discover a new person that I fall in love with, I can do that too. And all-in pricing, toggle that on the app, and I'll get all my prices up front, no surprises at checkout. So take the guesswork out of buying your tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create your account, use the promo code LOCKEDONNFL to get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create your account, redeem the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time. Segment 2, Locked On NFL NFC Squad, and I think James Yarko maybe get a little bit of revenge here, buddy. We're moving on to Week 6, and Ross Jackson is not here, but of course you guys are going to have your crossover episode. Always a great time when James Yarko and Ross Jackson get on a crossover, so make sure you guys are checking that out if you care about that game. James, how do the Buccaneers avoid that backup quarterback curse and then get back on the winning path before they face, again, the Ravens? You got the Falcons, the Niners. I mean, how do they do it?
Yeah, it's a little bit of a murderer's row coming up for the Bucs, but you know, we knew that going in. And yeah, I think the biggest thing is let Baker Mayfield do what Baker Mayfield has been doing all year. And he's been absolutely phenomenal. And I think you go back to that Atlanta game, Aaron, you might back me up on this. It seemed like the Bucs let Liam Cohen kind of took his foot off the gas in the second half. You know, Baker had 3 touchdowns in the first half. He was absolutely dealing. Then they have to settle for 2 field goals in the second half, and it proved to be costly because the defense couldn't stop a nosebleed. But I don't think there's too many people that are going to be worried about Spencer Rattler starting for the Saints. Now that could be a problem because
Jake Hayner, baby, it's
the
Jake
agenda.
Hayner.
You're doubting the agenda.
I'm just saying this poor kid is going to come in for his first NFL start and have to face a Todd Bowles defense that likely we'll have at least Antoine Winfield Jr. back, maybe Kalijah Cansey for the first time this season. It's going to look a little different when it comes to the pass rush and the secondary with those two like key pivotal pieces coming back.
Wait, can I throw this question out to the group quick? I'm fascinated to know the answer. There's 3 perfect teams for this. I know the answer for Patricia. How many of you would switch quarterbacks with the Buccaneers at cost? Baker Mayfield at his cost for your team at your quarterback's cost. I'm talking to 3 teams and then a rookie quarterback, David Harrison. But like, come on, Eagles,
not
Cowboys,
yet, but
Falcons.
Cowboys? Not yet, but ask me in a few weeks.
Contextually, I got to bring Liam Cohen with him. I'm not letting Nick Sirianni and Kellen
he was pretty good last year with Dave Canales.
That's true. I'm not touching that.
He doesn't get to bring Mike
I
Evans.
plead the fifth.
It's going to take a lot to get me off of Jane
I'm
Daniels
not there
right
yet. I'm not there yet. I'm not saying that wouldn't be something I'd consider eventually in 2024. But 4 weeks
Aaron's
in,
very quiet.
It's Kirktober, so I'm good with Kirk.
So when Kirktober's over and he's got to return his costume, is he done? Like, is that it? Like, you're going to get 3 more good weeks?
He's even better than Kirk Bimber. No, Kirk Simber,
and then the
play goes down.
How do we put this? Like, the Kia to remember
when things get bad. So I'll make the switch in Kirk Simber, but Kirk Bimber.
Yeah, but Kirk's cool now. I don't know. This might be different. Atlanta Kirk is different. He's cool.
No,
Kirk is still not
cooler.
He was swag surfing. I mean, that adds a little,
he can swag surf. That doesn't make him cool.
Washington.
Let me ask you guys this.
Let me ask you guys this. Swag surfing.
Let me ask you guys this. Outside of Aaron Freeman, who actually believes Kirk Cousins has ever stepped foot in a Waffle House? Truthfully.
Oh, there's no chance.
By out of
no shot.
Just sheer will or like somebody forcing him in there?
Yeah. Zero chance, right? So look, the NFL schedule week 6 gets kicked off Thursday Night Football, San Francisco 49ers at Seattle Seahawks. So let's kick it off to the NFC West host in attendance here. Nobody. So the Seahawks are 3.5-point underdogs. Who here believes the Seahawks can be the first underdog winner of this week?
I actually do. I'm a believer in the Seahawks, and I know they can't protect Geno Smith, and that's the biggest problem. But I look at the 49ers right now, how they're banged up, the up and down play. I'm kind of bullish still on Seattle. I know they've dropped 2 straight, but I think they showed me something in that Detroit game. They beat 3 bad teams early on, but I think that defense is one of the most underrated in football, especially in the secondary, and I'm kind of drinking the Seahawks Kool-Aid even after 2 losses. And I know to Patricia's Giants, that's kind of a tough take after that week, but I'm a little stubborn on Seattle. I like them.
Yeah,
I'll tell you, I'm not going to lie. I thought maybe coming into that game against the Giants, maybe Seattle might be looking past the Giants because, Thursday Night Football, big division matchup for Seattle. I thought, okay, maybe they might look past them. I have no proof that they did or didn't. They're going to say, obviously, they didn't. But look, we see it every week that there's a division matchup. The teams bring the juice. So Seattle, you better believe they're going to be pumped up for this game against a banged-up 49ers team.
I was just going to say, it feels like these are 2 teams where something's got to give, right, in this game. Like, they've lost. Seattle's lost 2 straight. The 49ers are just kind of in a state where they're just not playing at a level that they're used to. And obviously, some of it's injury-related, some of it's execution stuff. It just feels like these are 2 kind of desperate teams that are in division rivals. I think it's going to be a really good game no matter what for 2 teams that really feel like they need a win right now.
Are we forgetting too that the only team that made the 49ers offense look silly is the guy who's coaching the Seattle Seahawks right now? Like, I understand the personnel is different. Like, Roquan Smith is not walking through that door, all that stuff. But like, Mike McDonald is the guy that had Brock Purdy in absolute ruins in that game. And also, I guess it's a thing that I have to say now. Also, Sam Darnold, after Brock Purdy got pulled, Sam Darnold didn't look very good either. So
league MVP, Sam Darnold, is that who you're talking about?
I feel like it has to be said. And this Geno Smith offense, like, they can, how many points or yards do they have on the Lions? Like 1 million. They can move the ball. This 49ers defense, a little more vulnerable than I think any of us thought they would be coming into the year. So this is one of those where I'm just like, I just get to enjoy it. Like, let's just pop the popcorn and go have fun. Yeah. But it would definitely be fun, extra fun, I think, for most of the people in this chat that the 49ers lost. That's for sure.
I think
very
it'll
good point.
some,
Peter
like,
Bukowski comes through late, but he brings the heat when he arrives. Aaron Freeman, I want to ask you this question. So, who needs to be on upset alert here out of the NFC? Chicago Bears are favored on FanDuel. All these odds are FanDuel, by the way. Chicago Bears favored by 1.5 to beat the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers favored by 3.5 against the New Orleans Saints. Eagles 8.5 points against the Cleveland Browns. Let's see here. Packers 5.5 over the Cardinals, and the Falcons 6.5 over the Carolina Panthers. You're not going to pick them. The Lions 3-point favorites over the Dallas Cowboys. Who of that list should be on upset alert this weekend?
Well, I kind of want to say the Packers just to see what Peter's reaction is going to be to that, but like I don't really believe that. I don't know. The Bears, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like all those teams, all those favorites feel like they should roll this week, So the Bears it's probably of those favorites are probably the most inconsistent team. They looked good against Carolina last week, but I guess we'll find out this week if every team looks good against the Carolina Panthers, but we'll see.
You forgot the Giants. Can I give you an upset alert here?
Okay.
And
actually, Patricia. So that's actually where we're going next. So teams who are underdogs this weekend: New York Giants 3.5 points, the Carolina Panthers 6.5 points. So we'll throw the Washington Commanders in there because they can't get all love, right? 6.5 point underdogs to the Baltimore Ravens. Pat, those three games specifically, who's more likely to come up with an upset win this weekend?
Well, I mean, I'd have to go with Washington. I mean, Washington's just been playing lights out. Let's give credit where it's due. Jaden Daniels, boy, I tell you, every time I see him in a game, I sit there and I think what might have been if the Giants had been able to move up. But I mentioned the Giants before. A couple little nuggets for you that I uncovered as I was doing my research, and I've already done my crossover show with Jake and James. Joe Burrow has never beaten an NFC East team in his career. And the New York Giants are undefeated against the Cincinnati Bengals at home.
Whoa.
Okay, so they are undefeated. Now, the bad news for the Giants on Sunday Night Football, they're 23-33-1. They don't have the best record, but there's a little intrigue there, especially coming off that big win against Seattle. And it's going to be interesting to see what the locker room is going to be like, what the mood's going to be like. I imagine they're going to be sky high, but hopefully not too high because you don't want to be looking past anybody. And, especially with, a supposed cakewalk. I think, they've got the Eagles next and then they've got the Panthers. So, you don't want to be looking past and saying, okay, we got to get the Eagles and we got to get them because it's division.
The Eagles as an 8.5 point favorite with the Giants next week against arguably the worst quarterback in the sport right now. You talk about a disaster scenario for our podcast come Monday. If the Eagles lose that game,
I'll be
not going to want to miss.
I'll be tuning in.
Must see TV.
The Schadenfreude will be excellent. Yeah. You mentioned the Bengals crossover. David, James Rapine went in on your boy. He's not that good. Jaden Daniels, not that good.
Oh man,
that's not what he said. That's
not exactly what he said, but definitely look. To be fair, even Dan Quinn after that Bengals Commanders game admitted like even he didn't see everything that has happened coming. So that's certainly I think fair in the early going part of the season. I don't think Kevin Ostreicher of Locked On Ravens is going to be as bullish when we do our crossover this week. But look, for the record, Sunday Night Football, there was an attempt to flex Ravens and Commanders to Sunday Night Football. CBS said, we don't get a lot of good games over here. We're keeping that one. Thanks. And they had that right. So I expect Cowboys and Commanders Landon to be flexed later on this season. We'll see if that comes through. But what else we've got to wait to see is which of these last place teams are going to actually make the playoffs and which of these first, I just imitated more there. And which of these first place teams could be fool's gold? We'll do that next on this episode of Locked On NFL's NFC Squad, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And we're doing that thanks to our friends over at FanDuel. NFL fans, you can get started this season with a big return from FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because since it's America's #1 sportsbook, you can find literally everything that you need there. So you're watching a football game. Maybe it's the Washington Commanders facing the Baltimore Ravens this weekend. Maybe one team is down 10 points, middle of the third quarter, and you're looking at the game flow and you're saying, you know what? I think that this guy is going to get this team on track. They're going to come back. They're going to win this game. You go to FanDuel, you can find your latest stats, your live stats. You can view the play-by-plays, so much more. And then if you want to make a wager on that in-game bet, you can do it right in the same place. You find all that information, America's #1 sportsbook, FanDuel. And when you're doing that for the first time, You bet $5, you can get started with $200 in bonus bets, guaranteed. No matter what happens, if you're right, if you're wrong, you get that $200 in bonus bets to continue testing your NFL chops. Right now, the Washington Commanders are 6.5-point underdogs against the Baltimore Ravens. The over-under on that game is 52.5 points total. I'm taking the over on the points, and I am actually taking the Washington Commanders with the 6.5 points. I don't know if I'm going to take the money line to beat the Ravens flat out, but I do think it's going to be a very competitive game. So if you want to take my advice, go for it. Make your first $5 bet. You get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Take full advantage of that latest opportunity by going to FanDuel.com and download America's #1 sportsbook. Wrapping up, very fun first episode here, Locked On NFL NFC Squad. I appreciate the NFC East coming through, the NFC North, the NFC South, and that's it. So appreciate all of you guys for coming through here and representing. Maybe in the future we'll hear from some other people when there's some more winning going on. Speaking of lack of winning, let's start there, actually. Los Angeles Rams 1-4 in their division. New York Giants 2-3 in their division. NFC North, the Green Bay Packers 3-2. I mean, look, it's last place, but I mean, it's 3-2 last place, right? Carolina Panthers and the great Dave Canales 1-4. Let's start with Peter Bukowski, man. The winning record yet in the last place. Which team here? And I'm going to take the Packers off the board because that's just cheating. Which other team? Giants, Rams, Panthers. Which one would you, if you have to place your bonus bets on one of those teams to make the playoffs still, which one are you putting your money on?
I mean, look, I think if we're zooming out the entire NFL, the Cincinnati Bengals are the team that I would be looking at 1-4. That I'm going, hey, this team can still do something here.
Not the question, Peter. Not the question. Answer the question, Peter.
Is this election season? Is this election season? I hear some circumlocution happening right here.
That's a damning non-answer. Is what that is.
Let's take the Packers out.
I'll remember that, Peter.
For whatever reason, the Packers, I don't know why they're listed on ESPN as in third place. I think they are actually because of tiebreakers in third. So I'm going to cheat again and say the Chicago Bears.
This guy.
What
a spin.
This guy.
He shows up late. He shows up late and this.
Look, these other teams stink. What am I supposed to say? Like, I can Daniel Jones. No, thank you. No way. The Panthers may never win again. And the Rams, like, their season was on Sunday. Like, the Packers had an opportunity to let the Rams save their season, and they said no. And that's a credit to the Packers. And that was something that I think we underestimate too much early in the year. Is these teams are desperate, and the Rams were desperate. Travis Rogers on our crossover pointed out, like, this is the season. You can't be 1-4 and go make the playoffs, especially now with Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp. So I just feel like those other teams at the end of their divisions are DOA. I think there's and FanDuel probably has odds on this. And as soon as we're done, I might go look at them. Is there a chance 4 teams in the NFC North could make the postseason? Like, is that crazy?
No. Ooh, it's 100% crazy. Chicago's fake. Caleb Williams is not good.
We remember what happened with Minnesota and the backup QB last time this whole thing came to fruition, right? We remember Case Keenum, like that whole ordeal. Like, they're good. 5-0 is good, but like that division is very tough. Those teams beat the crap out of each other.
And we just got out of the preseason. Let's that's the other thing I think people no one wants to talk about is that, I mean, the last 4 or 5 seasons, the first month of the NFL is just chaos. And then finally, when we get into October, that's when real football starts. So
Kirktober.
That's right, Kirktober. When Kirktober starts and the season changes, that's when we start to get into kind of the cream rises to the top again, and then the kind of pretenders start to fumble away their chances, and everyone realizes that it's actually Sam Darnold who's playing quarterback for the Vikings, and everything kind of falls back into place. So I imagine that a lot of this stuff, like you said, the Bears, they're not real. I don't even think that's actually really a football team. I think that people just talk about the Bears and that they only exist on paper.
Well, I do agree with that.
It's like a shell organization it's like a tax bracket thing, right? It's like
they're trying to make fetch happen, and just Caleb Williams is not
going to happen.
And Bears fans are looking at the Commanders going, we could have had Jaden Daniels. That dude is an absolute stud. But real quick, special shout out to the Carolina Panthers, because Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield are leading the NFL in touchdown passes, and they were on Carolina's roster at the same time. This is a Carolina problem. Carolina and the Jets,
or Julian Council.
Those are the 2 teams where quarterbacks go to die, and we all laugh at their expense.
That's why the Jets lost. They can't win a game when Sam Darnold is playing. That's just the bottom line.
Oh, is this our end to talk about Aaron Rodgers? Are we finally here, guys?
Hang on. Hey, we're not there yet. Give me one more second. We're not there yet. We're
Okay,
not there yet. Big
right.
shout out to Peter Bukowski for turning a third place team into his fourth place team that can make the playoffs, because Chicago Bears are indeed in third place, Peter. Green Bay Packers are 0-1.
I'm just telling you what the
Chicago
standings
Bears
say on ESPN.com.
I'm looking at NFL Jesus. NFL Jesus says Green Bay Packers last place.
I don't know what
in
that
the
is.
NFC
That's
North.
the Lord. That's the Lord.
Also, it also says Minnesota Vikings first place in the NFC North, Washington Commanders first place in the NFC East, Atlanta Falcons NFC South leaders because of that head-to-head against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, NFC West Seattle Seahawks leading there. Let's go to Gino Camilleri. Which one of those division leaders is the most likely to miss the playoffs?
Ooh, I think Seattle, just because of the parity in that division as a whole. I mean, San Francisco can kick it on at any given point. I think, and I said this on the show the other day, Jonathan Gannon might have a good team down there in Arizona that is going to give those teams fit. I know, Peter, it's tough for me to say it, but they're scrappy. They're a scrappy little football team. But as long as the Dallas Cowboys don't repeat for the first time in 20 years.
Is that a Kyler Murray joke?
No, I was not
That's
making
good.
a
Good.
Kyler Murray joke, but that was good. But as long as we continue this NFC East tradition of changing up the winner each time, I would be fine if Washington won it. Jaden Daniels is a really good quarterback, and I think a lot of people in Philly might be a little jealous of what you guys got going on over there. But Seattle, just because of the parity, the NFC West, whoever really knows what goes on. It's not a real time zone scene that none of the hosts showed up. They're all imaginary people, it looks like, at this current point.
It's still light there. That's why.
Yeah, they're just having lunch right now. That's the problem, is they're just having lunch right now. All right, one last question. We're gonna go around the horn here. We're gonna go clockwise. James Yarko, you'll start it off. We'll wrap it up with Peter Bukowski. Better late than never. Here's the question. Here's how we're gonna get Aaron Rodgers in here. Robert Saleh fired from the New York Jets. I don't care if it's not NFC. It impacts the entire NFL ecosystem. So here's how I'm gonna wrap this up in the NFC squad. Which team could you envision Robert Saleh head coaching next year? That's just how we're going to do this. And if you want to throw some barbs at Aaron Rodgers, go for it. James Yarko kicks off.
Oh, yeah. Aaron Rodgers is a terrible human, and he stole an MVP from Tom Brady.
Yeah,
and he got Robert Saleh fired. But man, who could he head coach? Jacksonville Jaguars. That's where I'll go.
I mean, I said NFC team, but okay, that's fine. Gino, what you got?
I'm sorry. I played my Bukowski card and changed the rule. Carolina.
The answer is Giants.
Carolina.
Canales
one and done. Couldn't save Bryce Young. Get him out of here. Yeah.
Get him out of here.
Gino Camilleri, what you got?
I would like a good defensive-minded head coach that can actually get things in order. I know Lou's going to disagree because he likes the offensive guys, but hey, Vic Fangio might be better off just taking in these Phillies playoff games. Like, let's be honest. At this point.
Lanny McCool.
I actually think I kind of agree with Gino. I think the Eagles makes a lot of sense. You know, if they could find it, but I agree with Louis though that I prefer offensive-minded coaches because offensive-minded coaches are more valuable, and that's how you attract them is by making them head coaches. But I think that as far as like trying to get over a hump, if I'm the Eagles and I want to beat the teams in the playoffs to kind of get the Super Bowl, like they're clearly a step in front of the Cowboys at this point still. You're gonna have to play some of those Shanahan offenses, and I can't think of a better guy to kind of defend those kind of things than a guy that just got fired because his quarterback didn't want his offensive coordinator to be fired.
Yeah, no, the Eagles are going to take Bill Belichick from the Dallas Cowboys. They're going to have to settle for Robert Saleh. So that's the Eagles are going to hire a defensive coach for the first time ever as Jeffrey Lurie the owner. It's got to be
what's more
Bill
Eagles
Belichick.
than you guys taking something from us that we didn't want in the first place? Well, I mean, that's the most Eagles thing ever, you know?
Kellen Moore is on line one.
Exactly.
Well,
can you go back, please? Sorry.
I mean, for me, it could be Carolina because David Tepper could easily just fire a guy just because he feels like it's a Tuesday or something, and he'll just wake up and fire a coach. But Philly, I do like the Philly. At least maybe then Howie will actually get a return on his bright time.
You guys are going to make Lou have a miserable night after this.
It's terrible. I was having a good time until now.
Oh, come on.
I'm going to go with Philly. put Robert Saleh.
Thanks,
Put
Patricia.
Robert
We're just
Saleh
piling on.
with a competent GM. I'm sorry, Joe Douglas, not impressed. I thought about maybe Dallas, but until Jerry Jones, the owner, fires Jerry Jones, GM, I don't want to see Saleh get himself into another, no-win situation. So I think Philly would be a good fit for him. I know you guys in Philly want an offensive-minded coach, but look, if he hires himself a good offensive coordinator, there's no reason why they can't be successful. And I say that, I'm clenching my teeth because obviously we don't want the Eagles to rule the the NFC for the next 10 years, but it is what it is.
It'll be
Howie
like 2
Roseman's a
years
Ponzi
with
scheme.
Eagles in the life cycle of the Eagles. Coach is great for 2 years and then downhill.
See you later.
I think the answer, I telegraphed it for those watching on YouTube. I think it's the Giants because the Eagles, you do want with Jalen Hurts, when you have a quarterback who you're paying, you want someone who can work with that guy when you draft someone, those kinds of things. The Giants, I don't know that they're going to be in a position in this draft with the quarterbacks in this draft. Like, are you excited about Jalen Milroe? Are you excited about Cam Ward? Are you excited about any of these guys coming out? Maybe Gino's shaking his head. Yes. But I look at it and I go, okay, the best players on this team, it's Malik Neighbors and then like a bunch of guys on the defense. And I guess a bunch is overselling. It's Dexter Lawrence. It's Brian Burns. Like, that's the strength of the team in a lot of ways. And so, okay, maximize that, figure out what's going to happen at quarterback in the future and try and build this in the short run. Now, I think you probably in New York need to just fully rebuild that whole thing. I don't know what anyone has seen from that front office to go, oh yeah, those are competent folks there. Especially after Hard Knocks. Like, why did they approve 80% of what we saw in Hard Knocks? Oh my God.
I can't believe we
Hey, Peter, have you seen the Giants draft class this year and how well they're doing, how they're contributing? I mean,
but then
look,
what about the
it's a multi-year process.
Saquon.
It's a multi-year process, my friend.
We're in year 3 of a multi-year process.
Okay, but year 1 you got to kind of throw out because that was a fluke. Year 1 should have been what year 2 was.
Exactly right. So then now what are we doing?
Look, it takes
Is Daniel
time.
Jones being
It
held
takes
back
time.
a year? Is that
The
what we're
Giants
talking
didn't deteriorate overnight. It took them over 10 years to deteriorate. It's not going to take them. Hopefully, it won't take them 10 years to rebuild here. But you got to give them time. I mean, gosh, even Dave Gettleman got 4 years to try and fix the team. Joe Sheen's got to get at least another year, I would think.
I don't know if you had to throw bad money after more bad money. Like that just it seems like a sunk cost. Like if you're going to move on from the coach, that I got to move on from everybody.
Who says they are moving on from the coach?
Me, I'm saying that. I'm saying they should hire Robert Saleh instead of Brian Daboll.
I don't know.
One bald for another bald.
Oh, Robert Saleh, stick around. He's not moving. He's not moving time zones.
As long as they don't bring Aaron Rodgers over, then we got a problem.
Hey, I'm just
Aaron
glad nobody
he's
brought up an
being paid.
NFC West team because the NFC West not here to talk about it anyway. But we do want to thank all of you for coming through, all the hosts that did come through for this first edition Locked On NFL NFC Squad. We got plenty more coming. We'll be here every single week, and each of us is here every single day bringing you the latest on all your favorite NFL teams. I'm pretty sure the NFC West hosts are doing that as well. So make sure you follow and subscribe. Don't miss a moment of the coverage. All part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.